For 50 years, Saudi Arabia used the kafala system. It's how migrants entered the kingdom to live and work, most importantly. But now, as of just a few days ago, it's gone, scrapped, right? No more kafala system. And we're going to talk about it. So, you basically would apply to work in Al Mamlakat, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and you would need a kafil, a sponsor. Think of this as a rich native Saudi citizen. It doesn't have to be rich, but usually is because they're employing you. A rich native Saudi citizen, wearing a thobe, the shemar, the ghutra, the whole works, right? The whole shebang, as it were. And he's going to be your master. Sorry, your sponsor, right? The challenge was to regulate the power of these sponsors who are bringing migrants in and then keeping them under their wing in chains. I mean, in an agreement, a sponsorship, a sponsor and a sponsored person's agreement. For decades, migrant workers, not in all cases, but numerous enough, migrant workers for decades were abused in a variety of different ways and dealt with unjustly by their sponsor. Passports were taken from them. This is well documented and very numerous, hidden away somewhere, and the owner of the passport, the migrant worker, could not reach his own or her own passport if they needed it. If work conditions sucked, the sponsor could just ignore the complaints of their worker. If the sponsor got exploitative or even abusive, physically abusive even, tough Tootsie Rolls. You can't do anything, right? If you wanted to leave the kingdom to visit a family member, if a family member passed away in your country of origin, you needed to go to their janaza or funeral. The sponsor needed to give you permission. If you wanted to complain to the labor ministry in Saudi Arabia about unpaid wages, you know what would make those complaints run smoothly, the whole process run smoother and quicker? Support from your sponsor. The guy who's withholding your pay, you need his help to lodge the complaint effectively, right? So let's say you say, screw it, this job sucks, I don't like this sponsor, I want to switch to a more fair, reasonable employer / sponsor, right? Well, that would require you to switch your job, and as well as that, you need to switch your sponsor, right? You'd need to switch to a new employer sponsor. They're the same thing. Now, to do that, you guessed it, you need the permission of your current sponsor. Does that sound like slavery? If it does, it sounds like slavery to many other people. Now, Saudi Arabia, as so many of you keep telling me, in my DMs especially, is developing, right? Is advancing, is westernizing, but we don't talk about that last one. Because of Vision 2030, right? 2030. Yeah. The kingdom's goal is to become a non-oil dependent modern nation. And the current administration, the current leadership seems to, at least in terms of their actions, associate modernization with westernization, because the West is most modern, most advanced. They think, let me be like the West, I will be modern as well. Let me make this country like the United States, and it will all be rich and happy, right? To a large extent, it is working. It doesn't come without its sacrifices, but I won't get into that now. I talk about that analytically in some other videos. Maybe I'll deep dive later on. Generally, though, Saudi Arabia's modernization efforts are working. Over half of Saudi Arabia's GDP now, the yearly economic output of the whole kingdom, over half, 53% roughly, is now non-oil, which is impressive. And you guys, the Saudis, I mean, they have 5 more years until the end of Vision 30. So maybe they can improve even more. That's their goal, of course. That's a true mashallah brother moment, right? Now, labor laws and modern employment rules were something that Saudi made the intention to update months ago, back in June. And now the kafala system has been formally abolished and labor laws are being changed. Employment contracts will take the place of the kafala system, where employers will have terms agreed with their employees before bringing them over or before hiring them, including when they can leave the kingdom, if they need permission from a person or from a selected group of people who can dispense that permission for family visits or bereavement, or whatever, bereavement meaning the death or illness of a family member or friend. How the employee can switch jobs, all of it will be covered in employment law and employment contracts, which will take the place of the kafala system. And ensuring that the employees are paid on time is also part of this, to try and make it not a chain, to try and make it I was going to say airtight, but then I showed a chain. I don't know what happened there. My brain just Anyway. All this, the removal of kafala, is another step in the modernization of Saudi Arabia, and not necessarily modernization with westernization attached to it, like often it is. Because, good labor laws and treating your migrant workers fairly isn't a Western thing, it's just a progressive thing. Now, the question is actual implementation. That will take time, no doubt. Kafils or sponsors may be quite comfy with the way things right now are, and it will take government effort and time to reform this giant segment of the Saudi state. The kingdom has a whopping 14 million migrant workers. Insane if you think about the fact that the whole country's population is about 35 million. That's like, if my maths is not tragic, and it's not, because I'm decent at maths, that's about 40% of everyone in Saudi Arabia being a migrant worker. Now, with the largest share of that being from the subcontinent, South Asia, right? India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the people from back in those countries will be quite hopeful of this abolishment. They and their families who have money sent back to them will no doubt be hopeful that this will lead to better, fairer treatment for their family members working within the kingdom and sending money back. And the change by the Saudi state reflects well with pretty much all nations that Saudi interact with and care about, as better labor laws are an indication of a modernizing, maturing state, which in turn might invite better business investments, foreign direct investment into the Saudi kingdom, as countries think of Saudi Arabia as more advanced and mature and modern and developed, which is exactly what Saudi Arabia wants, of course. They don't want to be seen as backwards and out of date, etc., etc., economically speaking. Time will tell how things pan out. It remains to be seen how the state will actually enforce these new laws and dissuade or bar the misuse or the continued use of the old kafala system. And for the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Mahfuz or Muffles or News Baba, and I'll see you on the next one.